You write, according to Jeremiah, after those who are scattered are brought back, 31:10, they will become a well-watered garden instead of a wasteland, 31:12. The term well-watered is used again in the immediate context in Jeremiah 31:25 to speak of the reality of the people living in the land again. I will refresh the weary and satisfy the faint, 31:25. Vineyards will be planted on the hillsides, 31:5, for the people to enjoy the bounty of the Lord, including new wine, tirosh, which topic we discussed last time.
That's right.
31:12, as a prophetic sign act of this forthcoming reality, Jeremiah buys a field, 32:7, foreshadowing, among other things, that the people would return from Babylonian captivity, 32:4344, to cultivate vineyards in their land,
Mm,
32:15. Ezekiel describes the transition from desolation to abundance in terms of becoming like the Garden of Eden, 36:35. When the exiles are brought back into the land, 36:24, there will be agricultural abundance rather than famine, 36:29-30. In that garden, like setting, the people themselves will be fruitful and multiply, 36:11, evoking the creation mandate of Genesis 1:28. It's funny because I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, especially we don't live agricultural lives. That's not how we uh, do stuff. And so I don't. I can't speak for everyone who lives in the West in these times that do not live agricultural lives. But my eyes
mm.
glaze over when I read agricultural stuff, and I imagine a lot of other contemporary readers like, it's just farming stuff. What do I care? But
Yeah.
I will say, like, looking at this through wine colored glasses, I think
Yeah.
this is a lot actually more interesting. I think especially the
Mm,
wine stuff here, like the vineyards, whatever, that stuff really gets glossed, like doubly
yeah.
glossed over because people who are like, oh, it's the farm stuff and it's like it'll be great. Usually
Totally.
the people who talk about how great it will be also skip over the wine stuff.
Yes.
It's
That's
different
true. Right.
demographics. So I think that's something that especially to point out with these verses, which is really
Yes.
fascinating.
Oh, definitely. No, I agree. And that was one of the kind of aims of the book, to kind of zoom out a little bit. I think what happens with this topic, because we're talking about religious texts and alcohol, right, at the end of the day, what a lot of people do is they think, I want to know whether these religious texts, the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament plus New Testament, whatever community we're talking about, does it help me discern whether I can or should consume alcohol, right? That's
Interesting.
kind of what happens. And so then when you approach the text trying to answer this question, should I, shouldn't I, can I, can't I, you inevitably sideline so much material
Mm.
that doesn't directly answer your question. So you end up with a truncated portion of scripture, right? Whatever sort of the canon that you're focused on, you're going to limit it at the end of the day
Mm.
to certain texts. And then you're going to privilege some over another because you're going to find, oh, the warnings over here suggest that I should abstain and ignore these passages that talk about wine as a gift or whatever. And so what I want to do is I want to not sideline anything, and I want to have like a kind of capacious sort
Mm.
of understanding of how wine functions, literally, symbolically, etc.,
Mm.
within Scripture. And this is why it's called a biblical theology, because I do
Mm.
want to offer this kind of comprehensive. And of course, I am writing with Christians primarily in mind, but not exclusively. And I hope it's a
Mm.
benefit to Jewish readers, any interested reader. But that kind of capacious
Mm.
understanding that for me includes the New Testament, but that kind of capacious understanding of what is going on in these religious texts with relation to fermented beverages, which is ubiquitous. It's all over the place, right? And
Right.
like you said, sometimes we skip over the viticultural stuff, but it's related. It's
Yeah.
directly related, of course.